Hello, I'm Nathan, also known as Mucho Man Randy Passion, and I'm here today to talk about the idea of risk and reward in Melee. Because risk reward is something that a lot of players understand to some level, but even like strong players still don't play with it in mind all the time. Because naturally, when you learn Melee as a beginner, you understand that, hitting with a move that with a combo starter is good, and that getting hit is bad. But a lot of the time, I think players don't really focus on it beyond that. They don't really think about it beyond that, especially the risk part of the equation. Something I see a lot in low-level players is that they do things that are very risky, like doing Sheik F tilt before it knocks down, or Sheik down smash, or Sheik down smash, Sheik dash attack, Sheik down tilt, for example. And in this video, I'm going to go over a few fighting game resources to kind of concretely define what risk reward is, and then I'm going to apply those concepts to Melee, and then finally bring up examples of a few different moves with 1 to 3 examples for each move. So I think they're going to be Sheik F tilt, Falcon Nair, Fox Bear, and Fox Jab. So we're going to look at those moves, and I pulled up examples of a situation where a player used that move in a way that was not risk reward in mind, did not have risk reward in mind, and then 1 to 2 other examples of a top player using that move where they did have risk reward in mind. So with that said, I'll get to the first resource. This is written by Video Games Yo. Yeah, this is written by Video Games Yo, who is/was a very good Mortal Kombat player. I actually just realized I don't have it on screen. Alright. So it's written by a really good Mortal Kombat player who's also top 25 in the world in Street Fighter V. And the reason I'm using it is because it has this section right here as a very nice opening description of what risk and reward is. So I'm just going to paraphrase a bit. You might have heard the terms risk and reward while watching a tournament or seeing people play. As a concept, it is vital to any fighting game player to consider it when attacking. Risk and reward refer to the amount of danger you're putting your character in by doing a move versus the gain you obtain if it works out. And then he talks about this example of sweeping and crouch blocking, and in a lot of 2D fighting games, there is a low attack called a sweep. It's like a heavy kick, crouching heavy kick, that you have to block low, because if you don't block it low, then you get sent into knockdown. So if you get that sweep, you'll cause a knockdown, and you can subsequently pressure your opponent. But if they're crouch blocking, then you're just going to get punished, because these sweeps have very long end lag. So the risk-reward factor in that scenario is the amount of danger you're putting yourself in by performing the sweep, or the risky move, as opposed to the reward you'll get if it works. And our next resource that we're going to look at a bit more briefly is a Guilty Gear guide. Guilty Gear is a write-up someone made of a video a Japanese Guilty Gear player made named Machabu. And Machabu is an Evo champion in Guilty Gear, so he's pretty good source. And he says that risk reward is about making conscious decisions, taking different factors into account, often positioning, damage, tension, and life. We don't have tension in Melee, but we do have positioning, we do have damage, and we do have, percent. And he goes on to say, risk-reward, I'll start here. So instead, it isn't about finding an absolute answer. It is about understanding the situation and making a decision based on the risk-reward of that situation. And this can be applied to specific players, and changed back and forth as the game or games continue, because as you play with a player, the risk-reward of your options is going to change just based on how they adapt to you. So risk-reward is therefore absolutely not about avoiding all risks. Instead, it is about making conscious decisions based on different factors. And then, so finally, now we're getting a good picture, right? Risk reward is all about evaluating, the reward you're going to get if a move hits versus the risk you incur by doing that move. How if it's talking about or thinking about if this goes well, how well is it going to go? And if this goes badly, how badly am I going to get punished? And finally, the last little academic type resource we have is a blog post written on the course blog for a few different Cornell University classes. And in this blog post, they talk about these two things, these two grids. And these two grids are, I believe they call them payoff strategies, payoff matrices. Yeah, payoff matrices. And essentially, this first one is just if you take the classic fighting game rock paper scissors of take space, poke, and whiff punish, and you just distribute them equally according to what beats what, then you get this very even, very symmetrical payoff matrix. But then, if you introduce two characters to the situation that have different move sets and have different rewards on their moves in different situations, then you get something like this, where it's more lopsided, and you have a few more like extreme examples. For example, like imagine like Marth grabbing Fox, and then you have the more like small examples like Marth like down tilting Fox. So with all that in mind, we can kind of feel now that risk reward is all about understanding and maximizing the value of your choices, because that not only gets you better results, but it makes you more consistent. Because if you do moves that are high risk, you'll get blown out when you play against someone that actually knows how to punish those moves. And if you do moves that are high reward, your punishes will be more consistent because you can more often get follow-ups. So that means that when we're thinking about options in Melee, especially like neutral game options, or really any option, especially like punish game is another one that thinking about risk reward is really good for. But essentially, we're grouping the options by favorability. So, like, you want to go for like high reward, low risk, medium reward, low risk, or like high reward, medium risk, and then also sometimes low reward, low risk. And those are all the options you want to favor in your gameplay. You want to avoid the moves that are low reward, high risk, low reward, medium risk, medium reward, high risk. You want to remove all those other ones and focus on all those ones that are unfavorable to you in terms of risk reward, and focus only on what gets you the most value without, taking too much of a risk. And a really good thought exercise to do in Melee is to go through each of your options and think about them in this way. And especially think about them very specifically. So like, for example, for Fox, think about if I nair Peach when she's grounded, when she's like between 0 and 20%, or like before nair knocks down. What's that going to look like in terms of risk reward? What am I going to get off of it? What am I risking? And the same thing for nair, from like 20 to 40 when it starts to knock down. What am I getting off of this? And you keep on doing that, and you keep on figuring out, each layer of the risk reward lasagna, I guess I would call it. And you can also do this by watching top players of your character and analyzing the risk reward of their options. For example, a really good player for this is Wizrobe, because Wizrobe literally only does the high reward options. Mewtwo King also does this. They basically only go for the high reward options because they know if they can land one of those options, they can just get a kill like a lot of the time. And you can do that. You can do that with any player. Any like top player is really good to do that for. Just like basically as you're watching the match, just think about what are the risk reward, or what is the risk reward of all the options that this player is choosing. So now we've talked about risk reward in general. We got a good idea. Now we're getting there. So now what we're going to talk about is more Melee specific. So in Melee, risk reward is most easily seen in the idea of knockdown percents. Because if you do, if you do Fox Nair before it knocks down, not only is the reward drastically different than if you do a Fox Nair when it knocks down, but it's also more risky because you're more vulnerable to ASDI down and crouch canceling. And that applies to pretty much every move in Melee. There are some it doesn't apply to that are just like, high reward all the time, like Falco Dare, Falco Shine, Fox Dare, Fox Shine, Falcon Stomp, a lot of grabs. And those are, generally what we're going to see players favoring. You're going to see players favoring those high reward options, and you're going to see them favoring the low risk, low reward options, like zoning with Marth and down tilting, or like zoning with Sheik and putting up a fair wall, or zoning with Falcon and putting up a nair wall. And something you'll also hear some commentators say that kind of makes sense through this lens is some commentators will say, especially against characters that are like weak to CC, like Sheik and Falcon, something they'll say a lot is that a move is unlocked, or like a move is locked, or more often that moves unlock, and that's just the idea of knockdown percents, because basically once a move knocks down, then it unlocks as a safe option. And now with all that out of the way, let's look at some examples. So I've got a few. I'm going to start with Sheik forward tilt, and I'm not going to spend too much time on these because I do want to be timely. But I will explain like the risk reward of the situation, right? So this first one, this is Sheik F tilt, and what we're looking for here is that Sheik is going to F tilt when Fox is at this percent at 9%, when F tilt doesn't knock down until 24 against Fox. So he F tilts, and then like Sheik F tilts, and then she just gets shined, and that shine could have easily led to more damage. So that's an example of not only a low reward move, because you're not going to get anything off of this F tilt, because it's not going to knock down, but also a high risk move, because if Fox doesn't even need to CC or ASDI this down to punish it, he can just punish it no matter what. So this is a very high risk option. And this is a very good example of the type of option you don't want to go for, because this option doesn't get you anything, and again, it puts you in that risk. So now we're gonna switch over to a Spark game where he also does an F tilt, but this time look at Fox's percent. It's 32. So at this percent, F tilt knocks down. So that means that when Spark does this F tilt, when he waits to use it until it knocks down, or until after it knocks down, he's able to get a really good reward off of it, because it forces Fox in the knockdown, and then Spark gets the tech chase and is probably going to kill him. Almost. But yeah, so basically, the idea is that because Fox is at this knockdown percent, because he's 32, he will now get knocked down by F tilt. The risk reward drastically changes, because now Sheik gets a reward, a tangible reward, if the F tilt hits, which is the knockdown, which is really important for Sheik in this matchup. And it's also harder for her to get punished for it, because now if Fox ASDIs down, then he's going to be knocked down. Like, Fox is going to be knocked down by this. Alright. So moving on, I believe now we have Falcon Nair. And this is another Spark game. So we're going to look at the percent here. We're going to look at the percent. So Sheik is at 18. Sheik is at 18, which means that she can actually ASDI down this Nair on reaction. If you watch what Spark does, he dashes away and then just reacts with ASDI down. So that makes this move, this Nair that Falcon just did, kind of a questionable option when you look at it through the lens of risk reward. Because now he can actually get punished for it if the Sheik just does the appropriate counterplay. And again, if you're nairing Sheik at 18%, you're probably not going to get much off of it. That's not the money Nair. That's not the money Nair at all. So again, so Falcon does this Nair, and even though he hit with this Nair, he still put himself in a bad position, because now Spark can just mash shield grab and just get the grab on the gentleman, and then probably kill Falcon. So now we're going to look at some good Falcon nerfs. Let's look at some good Falcon nerfs. Okay, yeah, we're good. Okay. I said it, I just had a bit of a blunder. Okay, so this is going to be a good Falcon nerf. So that was the one where Falcon has center stage. That was also a good nerf. But the reason this one works out is specifically because Falcon hits Fox out of his jump. So now that Fox is in the air, he can't crouch cancel. He can't ASCI down. So that means that this nair all of a sudden becomes very high reward, because now you can just do whatever you want off of this. Like, Mech gets a grab off of it, which is huge for Falcon. And that could just be the stock. If you can set up a nair like that so that it combos into a grab because you're hitting someone out of the air, that's huge value. That's really good value. Okay, so now we have Null versus S2J. This is going to be another good nair, but this time it's going to be against Grounded Fox. So this time, again, look at the percent. So now Fox is out of knockdown percent. He can no longer ASTI this down. Which means that if Falcon hits Grounded Fox here, then he's going to get his tech chase. Which again is really good for Falcon. Like, S2J gets a kill off of it. So again, what's happening here is that because Fox is now at that knockdown percent, the risk reward on Nair has changed dramatically. Now it's actually a high reward option because it sets up for that tech chase. Whereas a low percent Nair, when your opponent's at a low percent where they can just like hold down, is not good because you're not getting any reward off of it and you're just incurring risk. So yeah, S2J chooses the good Nair, good knockdown Nair, and almost gets the tech read, but kills Fox anyway. So now we're going to move on back to Fox. Yeah, we're going to kind of shift back to Fox, and we're going to look at Fox's back air. So again, I want you to look at something. I want you to look at one thing before we watch this video, or watch this clip. I want you to look at Sheik's percent. Sheik is at 13 right now. So that means that this bear that Fox does is very free to punish. Because Sheik is at this percent where it's not going to knock her down, so it means that she can just ASTI down. Because I don't think Spark was even true crouch canceling here. I think he was just ASTIing down on reaction. So she can just ASTI down and then get this grab and again set up a tech chase, which is really good for her. Like I can easily see Spark just killing Blarg off of this. So again, like we're thinking about what are we getting out of these moves versus what are we risking? And for this Fox Bear, again, you're not really getting much. If this bear goes well, all you're really getting is percent, maybe a shine. But if this bear goes badly and the Sheik knows to just ASTI down, then you're gonna get grabbed and you might even just get killed. And then we're gonna bring in Mango here. We're gonna bring in Mango, which I kind of had to. But this is an example of a good bear. This one right here. So this is totally different, right? Because this bear, no matter what happens here, since Marth doesn't shield, it's always going to be high reward. Because not only can you shield poke Marth with the back air, but also if you hit the back of Marth's shield, there's not really much you can do about it. Marth is not a very good character when he's facing away from you in shield. He doesn't really have very many relevant options. So if this bear hits, you know, if it gets shield pokes or if it hits Marth out of something, Marth is going to be off stage. And if Marth stays shielding, then it's going to lead to shield pressure. So it's really good risk reward because not only is it very safe, because Marth doesn't have time to challenge this, but pretty much no matter what, you're gonna get some sort of reward off of this bear. Alright, and finally, we have Fox Jab. So this is going to be who's this? Copper versus Lod. Basically, we're just gonna look. This is gonna be pretty obvious. That that's what we're looking at. So basically, I think by now the reason why this jab is not good should be pretty obvious, right? Because again, if you look at percents, Peach is at 10%. There is realistically no rewarding option that Fox can get from just running at grounded Peach and jabbing her. There's really nothing. Especially because every single Peach here is just going to be looking for the down smash. Like, they're going to look for Fox to do something unsafe on CC here, and then just down smash and kill you. But now we can look at some good jabs. Also against Peach. I just want to keep it consistent. So, in these examples, this is Leffen, and then the other one's Mango. They're using their jab, but they're using it in a situation on the percent where now their reward has totally changed. Because now, if Fox hits Peach with any of these jabs, that just immediately leads to up smash. And again, because this is also another like similar thing to the Mango Marth example, is that because Peach is facing away from you, she's definitely a bit weaker to shield pressure, of course, because she loses grab. So that means that these jabs, because Peach is facing away, now become not only actually fairly safe, but again, because they lead into up smash, if it hits, they become very high reward as well. And like, Leffen doesn't even get a true up smash off these jabs, but it still leads to like a roll read that he gets a kill off of. Alright, and finally, we have Mango vs. Armada, another godlike jab. So this is a really good example of what I'm talking about when I say that jab is like a launcher for up smash. Because at this percent, if you're Fox, like against Peach, against Jigglypuff, I think probably against Ices maybe? Against probably Samus, so like a lot of the floatier characters, you can get jab up smash very consistently. And what Mango did here to make it really good risk reward wise is he did this spot dodge right here that dodged the grab, which meant that Peach is now vulnerable. So now that Mango has created a situation, basically Mango has created a situation that's just a checkmate situation. At this point, there is just nothing that Peach can do. And a lot of that is because of the risk reward of the jab. And also like a shine, right? Like the risk reward is now much better, you know, because now Peach is at 112. And a jab up smash will start to kill, will kill, and yeah, I don't know where that thought was going, but anyways, so that's about all I have to say. I hope this was helpful to you. I will also post these links to these pages in the description if you want to read them. The Machibu guide is actually very, very good, especially because it's a Guilty Gear guide, but Guilty Gear actually has a lot of similarities to Melee and how fast-paced it is and how good the movement options are. And this is kind of just like a fun read. And this is also pretty good. I think there's also some really good fighting game and like game independent stuff that video games talks about. So anyways, that's gonna do it for me. I hope you enjoyed, I hope you learned, and I will catch you on the flip side.